What's up? Sorry, I'm running a little late, guys. What's up, everyone? All right. So, thank you, mods. Thanks for everybody for hanging out for a second. What we're going to discuss tonight is credibility, deception, and how it pertains to one of my recent videos titled "For Police Officers for a Public Records Request?" ? Now, essentially, before I get into this, we're gonna, talk about a little bit of stuff: public meetings, minutes for public meetings, Indiana's public records, and open meeting laws, as well as we're going to talk about a little bit of the exchange that happened between me, the clerk treasurer for the city of LaPorte, and the deputy clerk treasurer. What's up there, Atlanta Freedom Project, Civilian X. Anyway, and then a little bit with the police officers afterwards. What's up, Jenny? Hi from Michigan. Hi from Indiana. So we're going to talk about, during this interaction, there's a lot of stuff said. I say a lot of things. They say a lot of things. So we're going to sort of hone in a little bit on what's being said. I'm going to sort of explain where the information that I'm going off of when I'm, the things that I'm saying during this interaction, why I'm saying them, as well as we're going to discuss potential theories for why they're saying the things they're saying, they being the clerk and deputy treasurer, as well as the police and such. So, I guess we should start out with a little bit of context for this video. So, I am there to essentially doing an audit, is what I would call it a little bit, public notice audit. I believe the minutes for the public meetings are somewhat of a notice for the next meeting. You figure out what happened at the last meeting. You can read these minutes and get a good idea. And you're kind of informed in some aspects, depending on what it is, what they discuss about things that are going to happen at the next meeting. These minutes are just as important as the public notice for the meeting, any sort of cancellation, things like that. So I am there to essentially check the public notices and trying to obtain a set of draft minutes. Now, in the video, you may not know this, but how's my feed, guys? Somebody let me know what's going on here. Not really sure if we're choppy or not. Cool. That's one of the things I was checking on. Updated some of the internet providing equipment here and there. Audio is way too low. Let me see. Yeah, right now I'm just using the phone. I'm trying to get this thing I've been working on the laptop, but I'm gonna have to just go full on desktop to stream the way I want to. Anyway, so in this video, I'm a little bit caught off guard because I didn't expect the public records request form to be an issue. This was new. You may notice in the video that I mentioned that's new when she tells me that I have to fill it out. Now, the thing is we're going to get into that a little bit more, why I think they're doing this public records request thing. But the point is okay, these are draft minutes from the December 17th, 2018 City of LaPorte Common Council and the December 18th, 2018 Board of Public Works and Safety. These are drafts. I went through this before, and this same woman, her name is Joanne Lehman. She's the deputy clerk treasurer for the City of LaPorte. And she basically tried to tell me that the draft minutes were not public record and that I couldn't obtain them. She never asked me to fill out a public records request prior to this. Now, just to get specific, I'm going off of Public Access Counselor 98-FC-08-10-FC-56, 05-FC-23, 12-FC-80, which all say draft copies of minutes taken during a public meeting are considered to be disclosable public records despite not yet being approved by a governing body or in their official final form. Okay, so I'm there to essentially obtain check all the notices that are posted on these boards, and I wanted to obtain a copy of these draft minutes. Now, the draft minutes are for a meeting from the Monday, March 4th City Council meeting. I am there on March 8th. I'm told to come back. This would be a Friday. There, Friday, March 8th, asked to see the draft minutes of a previous City Council meeting. I'm told to come back on Monday, March 11th, because it's Friday. Come back on Monday because the individual who handles that is on vacation. Okay. I don't remember I don't even remember if I was at the March 4th City Council meeting. I think I missed it. Anyway, I'm told to come back Monday, March 11th and be able to get them. Not, on Friday, March 8th, there is no, you need to fill out a public records request. So, Wednesday, March 13th, an entire 48 hours additional to what they said they needed to provide them, I come back. Now, when I walk in, which by the way, I'm at the clerk treasurer's office. So we're going to discuss a little bit about what the clerk treasurer's office is supposed to do and why I'm there. For one, there is no policy that I was aware of at this point that I had to fill out a public records request form for meeting minutes. As they affirm, they have recently enacted this policy. And that's sort of another thing that we're going to discuss in tonight's video. Anyway, so Indiana Code 36-5-6-6. The clerk treasurer shall do the following: receive and care for all town money and pay the money out only on order of the town legislative body, keep accounts showing when and from what sources the clerk treasurer has received town money, and when and to whom the clerk treasurer has paid out town money, prescribe payroll and account forms for all town offices, prescribe the manner in which creditors, officers, and employees shall be paid, manage the finances and accounts of the town, and make investments of town money, prepare for the legislative body the budget estimates of miscellaneous revenue, financial statements, and the proposed tax rate, maintain custody of the town seal and the records of the legislative body, issue all licenses authorized by statute, and collect the fees fixed by ordinance, serve as clerk of the legislative body by attending its meetings and recording its proceedings, administer oaths, take depositions, and take acknowledgement of instruments that are required by statute to be acknowledged without charging a fee, serve as clerk of the town court under Indiana Code 333532 if the judge of the court does not serve as clerk of the court, or appoint a clerk of the court under Indiana Code 333531. Okay, so what's important here is serve as clerk of the legislative body, that would be the city council, by attending its meetings and recording its proceedings. Now, you're welcome to go on the City of LaPorte's website. I'll speed you up there. What they're going to link you to is Access LaPorte County, ALCO, I believe, alco.com. Anyway, you can watch these meetings a good bit of the time. It's not Mr. Roger Galloway, who is the elected clerk treasurer right now. It's usually this woman, Joanne Lehman, the deputy clerk treasurer. The woman who used to be clerk treasurer unexpectedly died. So the Republican Party caucused Roger Galloway in. He was a city councilman. He's going to run for city council person again. So he's actually about to quit this job that I think he doesn't understand. What's up, police paparazzi? Poor Dirt Farmer, PDF, one of my favorite names. Dimmer, how you doing? Anyway, so like I said, he is an elected position. Indiana Code 36-5-6-3 concerning residency and term of office. The clerk treasurer must reside within the town as provided in Article 6, Section 6 of the Constitution of the State of Indiana. The clerk treasurer forfeits office if the clerk treasurer ceases to be a resident of the town. So this is a constitutional position, like your sheriff, like your county auditor, the what's another one? Your circuit court judge is a constitutional position for your state constitution, specifically in Indiana. Article 6, Section 6 is the constitutional part where it's talking about how you have to be a resident of the state of Indiana for at least a year prior to being elected to a position. Anyway, so Indiana Code 36-5-6-2, clerk and fiscal officer. The clerk treasurer elected under this chapter is both the town clerk and the town fiscal officer. Indiana Code 36-5-6-5, the clerk treasurer may administer oaths, take depositions, and take acknowledgments of instruments required by statute to be acknowledged. If office space exists in a building owned or leased by the town, the legislative body shall provide suitable office space for the clerk treasurer and the staff and records of the clerk treasurer. So all the clerk treasurer's records are in the office that the clerk treasurer maintains in that building. Like I said, the clerk treasurer shall do the following: receive and care for all town money, keep accounts, prescribe payroll, prescribe the manner in which creditors, officers, and employees shall be paid, manage the finances and accounts of the town. I'm asking for this thing has to be done every 2 weeks. There's a meeting every first and third Monday. It's a fairly regular process. Anyway, so quite complicated on the day that I ask. Anyway, it's because they weren't done yet. They are taking their sweet time. So what they do is they tell me that I got to fill out a public records request. That takes a few days, which would have brought us to, well, I'm assuming if I would have maybe got them by Friday, if I filled out this public records request and they got approved and all this, normally they take about a week. Anyway, the next meeting, they would have been approved by the city council on Monday, March 18th. Now, as of today, March 23rd, even though they're approved, they're no longer in draft form. Right before I started this live, I checked like 5 minutes right before I started this live. They're still not online, which is what they're quick to say. If you watch all my videos, they're quick to tell me that these are available on the website. There's videos where I specifically go down and ask them to put the minutes on the website because they have yet to do it. They're very quick to tell me to put these things on the website, but they haven't. They're still not on the website, even though they're approved. This is called enhanced access under Indiana's Access to Public Records Act. But I wasn't able to get the draft copies to be able to read, to know what was going to transpire at this meeting on the 18th. They've now approved these meeting minutes, and they're still unavailable to the public through the website that the City of LaPorte refers everyone to, when they want stuff like this. All right. So, 1 second here. Let me sort of collect my thoughts for a second. Well, I'm going to transition with this. All right. So, specifically, serve as clerk of the legislative body by attending its meetings and recording its proceedings. That's number 9 of this IC 36-5-6-6. Okay, so this is the clerk treasurer's job. This is a very specific part of their job. All right, we're going to get into that. The time limit. All right, so it says basically that anyway, these are supposed to be available for inspection and copying during regular business hours. So, opinion of the Public Access Counselor 98-4. Regular business hours is not defined by the Access to Public Records Act. Although it is understandable that part-time public officials may have limited hours of operation, this is an elected position. It's not part-time at all based upon the responsibilities and duties. That's obvious and clear. Although it is understandable that part-time public officials may have limited hours of operation, it is nevertheless, so even if they were part-time, it is nevertheless the responsibility of a public official to ensure there is adequate opportunity and time for persons who wish to inspect and copy records. So, during regular business hours, you're supposed to be able to come in and inspect public records. All right, so inspect is defined as according to the Indiana Public Access Counselor, the memoranda are to be available within a reasonable period of time after the meeting for the purpose of informing the public of the governing body's proceedings. So within a reasonable time frame to inform the public basically before the next meeting. So the minutes. There is no requirement in the open door law for a public agency to keep minutes of its meetings. Minutes of a meeting, if any, however, are to be open for public inspection and copying. A public agency may not deny access to minutes of a meeting simply because they are still in draft form or have not yet been approved. See, and they tried to deny them a few times before because they were drafts. Yes, it's not Friday. I had to reschedule. It happens. Things happen. Anyway, so, once I got that information sorted out, then all of a sudden they were like, well, you need to fill out this public records request form. And I wasn't able to locate this specific thing I'm talking about. I might go and do another public records video later, but it basically mentions how a public agency cannot, once they've abandoned a procedure or policy for something, they've waived that right to later, selectively enforce it. And that's basically what they've done. Is they don't have these minutes ready. That's why, we're going to go through how this conversation goes in this video and why it went that way. So, like I said, this woman, Joanne Lehman, now mind you, I'm making sure we understand this. I'm not there to harass anyone who's just doing their job or anything like that. And these people don't think that either, because when I walk in, she says, "Hello there. How can I help you?" Hello there. How can I help you? That is, welcome, citizen. How can I serve you as a public official? Hello there. How can I help you? Doesn't sound like the individual thinks I'm there to harass them while they're just doing their job. So I asked for these minutes because I'm told, now mind you, if we go through the public records request thing, technically I made a verbal request that they acknowledged on Friday, March 8th. They told me my public records would be ready March 11th. I showed up March 13th. They didn't have them. That's a denial. This is me giving them a second chance to explain themselves and sort of abandon their denial because they're wrong. They choose not to do this. Anyway, so I asked for these minutes. I'm told to fill out the public records request form. I say, that's new. The woman says, that's what I've been told. Now, you see, what it was she was prepared because, they had plenty of time to have a discussion about this, a big meeting that he mentions later. Anyway, she was prepared to give me a public records request form and tell me that I wasn't able to get the draft minutes and to, I'm denied. Fill this out. They need more time to create these minutes because they haven't done it yet. Yada, yada, yada. So the script she was given that she was prepared with was tell him to fill out this form and then he'll come back and we'll deal with that later. I say, that's new. She says, that's what I've been told. By who? If you don't mind me asking. She says, I've just been told that's our policy, that public records requests have to be filled out. By who? Later we figure out who. It's her boss, Roger Gallo. I know who. She knows who. But why? It's a big secret, you know. Why is it a big secret to say who all of a sudden changed this policy? So, you know, we go back and forth a little bit anyway. It just so happens this guy comes in and he says, you know, a whole lot of stuff. And he basically says, when I was a city councilman, I still had to fill one of these out to get copies of the draft minutes. That's not accurate at all. And if it is, that's ridiculous. They were messing with him, I think. Like, he literally voted on these minutes to approve them. He would have had to have said, yes, I don't see anything wrong with these. I vote yes to approve them. So either all his votes were done without the paperwork that he's claiming in the meeting in front of him, or he's full of shit. And again, this is something, you know, that he was basically told to say, is that he had to fill them out. Even a city council person has to fill them out. But it's bullshit, because he would have been voting on them. Clearly, we just... Anyway, so he goes on to say, that's our policy right now. Not that's our policy. That's our policy right now. And I say, well, what is this policy? You know, like, is there, you know, 16-FC-146. That's a formal opinion of the Public Access Counselor. Policy is very general. Is this a city ordinance? Is this posted somewhere in the building? The list of rules, you know, it's got to be on paper somewhere because it's a policy. So where can I find this policy? How is this policy? Is it just the policy? You know, just go in and tell them the policy. Tell them Roger sent you. They'll know what the fuck you're talking about. I doubt it. Anyway, so he says that's our policy right now. I say, what's this policy? Where can I find it? You know, is this policy available to the public, since the public's supposed to be bound by it? He says, basically, I believe we had a big meeting with the mayor. And when he's saying this, he's looking at the woman like, sort of like, is that right? Like he almost looks curious. He's doubting what he's saying. And the reason he's looking at her is because he can't remember if that's what he was supposed to say. He's trying to get her to help him remember. I believe we had a big meeting with the mayor and the chief of police and everybody. I don't know who just mentioned this, but I'll do. And he says, anyway, I believe we had a big meeting with the mayor and the chief of police and everybody. A meeting where you enacted a policy. That's what that sounds like. Well, that sounds like official action. That means to receive information, deliberate, make recommendations, establish policy, make decisions, or take final action. Official action, or establishing a policy, can only take place at a public meeting. Notice of an executive session, which refers to legal matters, and freedom of information request does not comply with the open door law. Things of that. So public agencies may not seek legal advice from their attorneys in private about matters which are not related to litigation. So things of this nature usually aren't discussed in secret. They are discussed and open at these public meetings. That's where policy is established by the city council. So the chief of police was involved in establishing the policy procedure for the public records request. So I try to find out further information about this conversation, this big meeting between the mayor, chief of police, and everybody. Was it open to the public? He says, I think we just talked, and some other inaudible nonsense. And I say something along the lines of, so you guys took official action at a non-public meeting. And he says, nope. The dope says nope. And he says, actually, I think it was on the phone. I believe I had a big meeting, and I think it was on the phone. This motherfucker's in charge of money. Oh, I'm talking millions of dollars flow through this office. This is the financial officer for the city of LaPorte. Keep that in mind. He's in charge of money. So he thinks he had a big meeting with a bunch of people, and it might have been on the phone. So dementia, recreational drug use. There's a range of possibilities it could explain. Thinking you were somewhere, maybe around a bunch of people where a bunch of things happened, but it could have just been on the phone. Maybe it was a dream. Who knows? Anyway, actually, I think it was on the phone. So I go on to ask, what phone? What phone number? Who'd you call? Did they call you? What day and time was this? I'd like to request some of this phone call. Was it an office phone? Well, no. I think it was on my cell phone. Okay. Well, informal inquiry, 16-INF-30. Text messages, phone calls, any public record means any writing, paper, report, something. There's always some sort of paper document. To be a public record for this, so even with his personal cell phone. Anyway, so he goes on to talk a little bit more about these public records requests. He's seen them upstairs and asked about them because he was very familiar with them. Very, very familiar with them because he told us twice that he had to fill them out when he was a public councilman. But he's seen them upstairs and asked about them to clarify them, And it's basically because everybody that comes into that office requesting public records all the time, which there are others in LaPorte who are into requesting public records and stuff like this. Like, I had no idea. I thought I was the only person. That's why I was treated like I was doing something abnormal. Because it was such a strange thing that they have never seen before, that they apparently have all these other public records requesting citizens that are they're running amok, and they're slowing the process down. They don't know what to do. There's so many other people, not me. You weren't mentioned. I wasn't mentioned, and it has nothing to do with me. So they're not even blaming me. It's all you other LaPorte citizens that are requesting public records all the time, that this office that's kind of responsible for providing these public records to you can't even deal with it. Anyway, it's a big hassle. It is a total hassle to be able to do all this. But by the way, I'll come by and drop it off. Yeah, because the guy, I was bothering him so much that he asked me for my address. Where do you live? I'll come by and drop it off. And I explained to him, don't come to my house. Don't ever come to my house. Why not? Because why can't I come to your house? Well, because you're not welcome. But it's such a hassle that he's willing to come and hand deliver them to my home. I don't even have to come and pick them up anymore. because it's such a bother for this guy that I'm harassing. Anyway, so if you notice, at one point I continue on to ask, try to find out about this policy, things of this nature, and he's repetitively reading. If you notice, he's got this paper in his hand, which is it's a blank public records request form that he's reading the whole time. And he answers a question at one point and says, that's for official use for City of LaPorte. That's all I know. That's all he knows. True statement. Anyway, so I continue to challenge this information, and what ends up happening is the panic alarm is set, or when maybe, I don't know, I had an officer drive by as I was walking into the building. Yeah, I see the trolls are all here. So damn, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, anyway, so I can continue on, and I'm basically explaining that they're incorrect, and I'm also explaining that I believe they've all of a sudden enacted this new policy with no public notice or anything of this nature. The public was never informed. It's obviously new, and it's to sort of prevent them from having to do something that is part of their job, which is to have these meeting minutes available in a timely fashion during regular business hours for members of the public. This is literally part of their job. This is an elected position because it's that important of a thing. You know what I mean? The individual that's in this office obviously should be elected by the people. So because it's an important position. So the responsibilities listed for the position and the respect that it's given by having an election, not just an appointment, obviously show a lot of these things should be taken very seriously. And the individual that's in this office should be viewed with a little bit of scrutiny when a much simpler matter, like, this isn't millions of dollars. I'm requesting, some meeting minutes that are literally, they do these every 2 weeks. It's got to be much, much harder, like if you can't even do this right, to keep track of all this money. And that's one of the things that I noticed is very important, is whatever's going on with that doesn't matter. They're just going to call the police on you. Anyway, so the police come, and it's very interesting because I had an officer Reed and an officer Cites, who are 22-year and 23-year veterans for LaPorte City Police Department, and they've both been in some shit lately with stuff not related to me, and then my stuff on top of it. Anyway, they're both in the background, sort of very quiet. Just I think if things go full blown physical, they're gonna participate. But as far as the thinking part goes, I think they're on restriction or something, because they're in the background pretty quiet. Anyway, so I got these two rookie cops, Keene and Miller, and he used to be a correctional officer at the jail. Miller did. I can't remember if Keene used to be. Anyway, so they're very they're going with their basic, information textbook, what they see on TV and stuff. So they don't do that great of a job. At one point, it seems it was very, are you going to fill out the form? Like, I don't know what's going to happen if I don't. Do you feel threatened if I don't fill out this form? I was sort of ushered out, told that I was no longer welcome because I didn't fill out the form. But the point is, what they had planned for didn't work. I deviated away from the expected process, and they weren't able to deal with that. Literally unable to compute. Said a bunch of dumb shit. It didn't really make any sense. Answering questions with nonsense. But also still these little tidbits. If you watch the video a few times, you catch them. They're lying. They're hiding information about something. And they are essentially, this is their job, and the police are viewed as some sort of legal gurus, even though the police are the first people to tell you that they don't know the law. They have no intentions of telling you they know the law. If you know the law, they ridicule you. But they're treated, these people are treated like the experts on this, credibility. But they're using very deceptive tactics. So I always found that to be an interesting sort of duality, that the people will justify the use of deceptive tactics in the comments section, but also insist that these people are just being honest all the time. The simple request for the meeting minutes turns into requesting a bunch of police come and try to lie or deceive me into believing that I'm somehow now a threat, or I'm creating a disturbance by questioning the information because it sounds off. And I've noticed a lot of people have watched the video and they've commented on this. A lot of people have commented that there's no obvious, I see a lot of this all the time, but it's not always visible to other people that don't have a lot of the background contextual information. So it's just one of the things that made me kind of want to do this video, to talk about credibility and deception. I've tried to establish my credibility with the community that watches these videos by providing information, and the information that I'm referring to in my videos. I don't always make one of these videos afterwards to explain a lot of where my thought process was during the video. You can obviously hear me say a good bit of information in the video while it's all happening, but sometimes I just know things are off. I don't specifically rattle off all of this, public access counselor opinion 16 FC 23 yada yada yada. I don't do that in every video, but the way this video happened, excuse me, the way this video happened, I noticed there was a lot of very common and general sort of things, the way that the interaction happened, that would allow me to point out a lot of these talking points, and it'd be something that people hopefully be commonly familiar with, unfortunately, as opposed to some more specific stuff that's just happened to me. But it seemed like this video sort of captured a lot of general things that happen that I see in a lot of other videos, where these people are assumed to know what they're talking about. But if you give them the benefit of the doubt and ask them to provide you with the information that they're claiming they have, they're claiming that they're so much more informed than you, that you've missed something and you need to come back later or whatever. There's a process that you have to participate in. If you take it to the fullest extent and ask them to explain it, they usually are making up bullshit. And that's why they don't get to the end using logic and reason. It turns into an emotional response that requires a threat of force to get you to basically stop asking them to make the math add up. Stop asking them to prove the bullshit that's coming out of their mouth. So it's the video is very sort of textbook for discussing a lot of this credibility and deception. I'm sort of giving them the opportunity to establish their credibility. They chose to use deceptive tactics, and it's because obviously something's off. They're not necessarily stealing millions and millions of dollars or anything like that. It just means that likely they put this kind of stuff off till the last minute. The city council would have needed to vote on the meeting minutes on March 18th. 5 days before that, they didn't have them done. So, it would have been a lot easier to just give me the meeting minutes if they had them. The whole, and I didn't even want, I kind of just wanted to see them and read them. There's some stuff that I wanted to check on, but anyway, instead they shut the office down for however long with however many police there, and they make this big scene, and they're willing to take it up to the point of tackling me, tasing me, whatever they're gonna do. There's 4 of these guys there for a reason, but it's because the meeting minutes weren't done. The draft copies weren't done. They were going to push them to the last minute. What it is this dude who's actually elected isn't doing shit. That's the number 2. She's doing all the work. She's probably very overwhelmed. And, I mentioned this in the video. You could see her face kind of thank you, but not be able to say it because I'm reading the script about these public records right now. But that's probably the most likely thing that it is that's off. But it's definitely a credibility and deception kind of thing. These people are insisting that you don't have any credibility, and then they set out to deceive you. So it's basically, again, always good to be up on all the information that pertains to whatever it is you're doing. I read a lot. It helps to be able to on the fly interact when things like this happen. If you notice, I'm quick to ask him about the phone stuff, everything about that. We had a big meeting. It was at a public meeting. We enacted this policy. So you took official action at a non-public meeting on your cell phone, which is also public record. I'm not able to catch them in these lies if I'm not as well read as I am with the Access to Public Records Act specifically. So like I said, if you haven't seen this video yet, check it out. It's called 4 Officers Respond to a Public Records Request ? It's 3 or 4 videos before this one. Anyway, something else I was going to get into, but it's been a long day, been a long weekend already. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this a little short, go ahead and wrap it up. I just wanted to, like I said, touch on that video because it sort of encaptures a whole lot of speaking points that occurred very organically between us, that I see a lot of people experience very commonly in videos. The script that they ran on me is a fairly normal script. Let me check this out real quick. I haven't been reading this too much, guys. Apologies. Chris's secret weapon is the damn sweet Cites. Well, like my kryptonite. Civilian. 100 days have been added. I mean, time isn't even real. You can only measure it in one direction. So it's how we people make ourselves feel significant. Um, Quantify ourselves for capitalism. Yeah. Time's irrelevant if you're not trying to purchase hours of somebody else's labor or sell them. Other than a job, time really doesn't affect anything the way that you think it does. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. We're not going to get into this. I try not to get too philosophical on this, but yeah, like I said, I'm gonna wrap this up one time. Thank you, mods. Yep. The interesting thing I always thought it was, if you agree to as soon as you start to sell your hours, it's like you're expected to have all the hours until the person's done, until they don't need any hours. Like if you try to set your own limit, it's like offensive. You know what I mean? You either have 0 hours or you have hours until the other person is had enough, until they've had their fill of hours. You know what I mean? Then you can have what's left. Or if you say anything, oh, now you're a lazy, offensive piece of garbage. It's a very interesting concept, the whole hourly wage thing. Yeah, whole nother video. Maybe I'll start a philosophy channel too. Anyway, you guys, thanks for showing up. Thanks everybody for viewing this. I'm in Indiana. It's beautiful out right now. Weather's getting warmer. It's springtime, so I'm I was out last weekend with a mallet smacking frozen dirt apart in my planter boxes, so I've been ready for a while. But anyway, I'm enjoying the weather. I hope you are too. Thanks again for watching another Friday Night Cites. I'll see you next time. Jenny, Civilian, Eric, Conrad, Atlanta, everybody. Guys, take it easy. Stay safe out there. I'm out.